continue our discussion to the issues of inventory and setup in just-in-time production system. The inventory is said that can solve any problem that the operation in the factory has. For example, when the customer need some product, but the product is having difficulty in production process due to there is some machinery problem, then the inventory can cover that problem. That still can fulfill the customer need, even though there is a machinery problem in the factory. With this, we can see that inventory is a solution, but inventory can also be seen that it also covers the problem, or covering the rock in this case. So we don't actually see the machinery problem as a problem, a real problem that we have to solve. So the problem is not exposed because of the inventory. By reducing of the inventory, the problem becoming exposed and we have to solve it. Ultimately, there will be no inventory and no problem that we have in our production system. One of the quality gurus said, this is Shigeo Shingo, says that the inventory is evil. So this is another perspective of the inventory, another point of view of the inventory. By reducing inventory level to the low level, we expect to have no scrap, setup time is reduced, late delivery also reduced, and quality problems is also removed, and process downtime in this case is also removed. Consider the graphic illustrated in here. This is the graph that we already known in the inventory management video, which is this is the consumption line. This is consumption line. We consume and then when make it reorder, and then it's fill up again to some level, which is equal to Q in this case, equal to Q, size of the order. So here Q1 in this case is the average order size, which is equal to when the Q is 200, the average inventory is half, so it's equal to 100. So making the inventory, making the Q is lower, for example, we change the Q from 200 to 100, then the average inventory that we have is lower. It's becoming 50. Yeah? The average inventory from 100 become 50. So how we can reduce the average inventory is by reducing amount of order for each time. So, or we can say that is reducing the lot size. The ideal situation is to have the lot size of 1. So ideal situation is we order only 1 from the previous process and push it to the next process. But this is often not feasible. It is quite difficult to have the lot size of 1. We can use the economic order quantity analysis to calculate the desired setup time. And then the two key changes necessary is improve material handling and reduce setup time. Why reducing setup time? Yeah, because when we try to reduce the quantity of order, in this case Q, from the previous inventory management, we know that the amount of order is equal to this formula. This formula is defined that Q or quantity of order. So it's depend on the demand, depend on the setup cost, and depend on the holding cost. How we can reduce this one? Reducing this one is by reducing the demand, which is not possible actually, reducing the demand because we want the demand as much as possible because we are running a business. This one, or increasing the holding cost. We don't expect to increase the holding cost in order to reduce the amount of the lot size, in this case in Q, in this case, and reducing setup here. Reducing setup cost is possible by reducing setup time. Since the costing is coming from the activity, this is the activity based on costing, and then the activity, when the activity is reduced, standardized, then we can reduce the time there. So when time is minimized, the cost is also minimized, so we can reduce the quantity of order or lot size. Take a look at this simple example of the lot size. We have D in here is 400,000 units and daily demand is 1,600 per day, with the daily production rate P is equal to 4,000. And based on this situation, we can calculate the economic order quantity is equal to 400. Holding cost is 20 per unit, and we should determine the setup cost in this case. So here we have this formula previously, and based on this formula, we can get S is equal to here Q, in this case, square of Q multiplied by H multiplied by 1 minus D per P. So we use the production order quantity formula in this case, divided by 2D. And if we count it up, and then we get the setup cost is 2.4. And setup time, if the 1 hour pay rate is equal to 30 per hour, so the setup time in this case is 4.8 minutes. The high setup cost encourages the large lot size. So reducing the setup cost will reduce the lot size and also, in this case, reduce the average inventory as we already discussed before. The setup time can be reduced through the one way to reduce the setup time is prepare it prior the shutdown or change over between one product to another product. This figure illustrates the setup cost based on the lot size in this case. So here we have the setup cost curve S1 and S2, and here S1 and S2 appear in here. So if we reduce the time, the setup cost is also reduced, and also when we try to reduce the lot size, we can do by reducing the setup time. How we can reduce the setup time? Consider the initial setup time is 90 minutes. The first step, we can separate the setup into the preparation one. So preparation is not the actual setup. So doing as much as possible while the machine or process is in operating. So while the machine is processing other process, the previous process, and then we already prepare for the next process. So with this effort, we'll reduce the setup time to 60 minutes. Step number 2 is try to move material closer and handling the material, make it easier. It saves about 20 minutes. So we can reduce further into 20 minutes. And when we standardize the process and improve tooling, how we can use the tool, how easy and how fast we can use the tool, we can further save about 15 minutes. And make it adjustment using the automation. For example, using one-touch system to eliminate the adjustment. So when we try to adjust the machinery, so it saves further 10 minutes. And training the operator and for standardizing the work procedure, it will save further 2 minutes. And lastly, we should repeat the cycle and do Kaizen or continuous improvement on how we can improve in this case is reducing the setup times. So thank you so much for discussing about reduction of the lot size and inventory. See you again in the next video. Thank you so much for joining me in Learning Operation Management. See you again in the next video.